Hello, welcome to Air Cooled Performance. My name is Wayne Calderaro. I am the Harley Doctor, and today we're going to be building the countershaft assembly and having it ready to go into transmission. In the previous video, we explained how to set up, the end play on this shaft, and you need to do that before you go to this part. And so once you have that established and you know what end play washer you're going to use, now it's time to build up the countershaft and get it ready to put in the tranny. All right, so we're going to, with componentry, of course, we've got the countershaft cluster, and then in the back, this is the fixed washer that goes in the back here. Okay, then the next thing that we're going to have is we're going to have this brass bush, and this brass bush is going to go on here like so, and then this is second gear, countershaft second gear. Now, on all gears, the tooth profile is, of course, important. But just as important is the profile on these dogs. This is where the transmission shifter clutch is engaged and allows you to go from one gear to another. So if these aren't good and sharp where they can hold in together good, then it's going to pop out of gear. So, and then after we put that gear, then we have our thrust washer for it. And then, as the same as in with the main shaft, we have a third gear snap ring. Well, we have a second gear snap ring on the countershaft assembly, and it does the same thing. It keeps gears from going into each other at the same time when they should. So, very important. Also, never, ever, ever, and did I say it, never, ever reuse a snap ring. Never, never, never. Okay. Now, the next thing we've got is our shifter clutch. And this shifter clutch, it's important that this is good and sharp too. This roundy part here is okay. What I'm talking about is you don't want radius on this face right here, the engagement face of the shifter clutch where it bites on the dogs of the gear. If this is roundy, it's going to jump out. The one that was in here was roundy. So that's why this is a brand new one, and that's why we're putting it in. So then the next thing we're going to put on is we'll have our bushing for low gear, and then we have our low gear thrust washer, and then low gear itself. This is another thing, we got to make sure that these dogs, these engagement surfaces here are good and sharp. If you can see that, see how that's a good square surface right there. So that will stay in gear. That's what we want. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and build this thing up. So first thing we're going to do, of course, we'll put our bushing on here for our gear, and we want to make sure that this spins good and free. And also, look right here. You see this groove? That is a snap ring groove that once we get the bushing on, get the gear on, get the thrust washer on, then the snap ring is going to go in here, and it's going to keep all that together and also help us set up the clearance that we have for that to spin freely but not be loose. All right, so we're going to take our bushing, we're going to place it on the countershaft cluster, and a lot of this stuff here, like once you get it assembled, you're going to want to take some assembly lube and put on it, so forth, and make sure that it's good and lubricated before you start it up. Okay, so then now the next thing we want to do is we're going to take our gear here, and on this gear, please notice that the dogs are good and sharp on it. And also in the back here, you see these grooves right here, that's for oil. As the oil drips down onto the gear assembly, it will creep down and go through this slot and feed oil to the bushing and the countershaft cluster itself. So, all right, so we're going to take this and we're going to put this on here, and this goes with the shifter clutch dogs pointing up. Okay, pointing up. So now the next thing we're going to put on is we have our thrust washer here. So and this has got the cutouts in it, if you'll notice, and that's so that it'll fit down on the spline of this countershaft cluster. And so once we get it on there, down there good like that, that's located good. So now if you look and see, if you can see, that snap ring groove is like right there. Get something to point with. Here, that snap ring groove is right there, and so we're going to now put our snap ring on, and we just have to work it over the spline part of the shaft to get it started. And also, let me get that started. I'll show you what that looks like. These can be aggravating sometimes, no doubt. And this one is being one that is. But that's okay. We want it to get down on there, and we want it to get a good bite. And that's the whole purpose of that. Okay, so what I've done is I've just worked this snap ring down around the splines. And it takes a little bit of doing to do so. But now once you get it on there, you can push it down a little bit with your fingers. Now, we want to get this thing nested in there, so we want to take our shifter clutch, and we'll take our shifter clutch and put it on here like so. Let me get this where you can see it. And then we're just going to push down on the shifter clutch and seat that snap ring. All right, so now, get where you can see, we've seated that snap ring right here, and it spins nice and free, and there's no shake, and we're fully seated in the snap ring groove. You want to make sure that you're fully seated in that snap ring groove, because if this fails, the whole transmission will fail. Okay. All right, so now that we've got that in there, we're just going to double check, make sure that that's down in there, and it is. Okay, well then now what we're going to do is we're going to take our shifter clutch, and on this one, remember, it doesn't matter which way it goes on. Give you another quick look inside here. We put our second gear on with the shifter dogs going up. Then we have the thrust washer, and then the snap ring. So you can see there's the end of the snap ring. If you can see it, it's on that spline. So it's fully seated in that groove. You want to make sure it's fully seated in that groove. Okay. All right. Well, then so we're going to take our shifter clutch. Now we're going to put it on there like so. And then we'll take our thrust washer, and we're going to put our thrust washer on. And then our bush, we'll take our bushing. And then the last but not least, our low gear. And if you look on this gear too, if you can see how sharp the edges are where it engages, that's what you want. And it goes with those dogs pointing down. And where you can see it. Just like so. That's just what we want. Just like that. Now, the next thing we've got to do is we've got to put our bearings down in here, and if I can get where you can see, where is, I get where you can, I don't know if you can see. Anyway, remember we've got snap rings down in here inside the bore, and what they do is they capture the bearing washers, which are these right here. They capture the bearing washer, and and it goes down in there, and what that does is that keeps your bearings from falling out as we're building the assembly. So we're going to take just a little bit of petroleum jelly here and put on this, and this is simply just to keep it in place. So we're going to just load it in here like so, and get it to where it's sitting nice and flat in the bore. If you can see down in there, so she's sitting nice and flat there in the bore. All right, so then now what we're going to do is we're going to load bearings. So putting some Vaseline in here. we're going to, we've got our bearings here. And we're going to simply start loading them. I like to a lot of times do them in like a couple at a time, and the Vaseline, if you can get it just right where it sticks on your fingers, it really helps when you go to load these bearings. And when you go to load these bearings, you want to make sure before you put them in that you always check them. Never assume that they are a certain size, because that is not good. You want to make sure that these bearings are exactly what they're supposed to be, and that is critical on doing this. So we want to make sure that we got that in there and keep those seated down. We want to make sure that we keep those bearings in there as flush as we possibly can, and we're going to put a little more poo-poo in here, as Brother Slim says. And so we've already measured these bearings, and we know that they are exactly to size, and we've counted them, so we know also that they are exactly the correct number that we need. And so we got one there trying to slip out. Get back in there, buddy. You have to keep an eye on these things, because it will try to slip out of there, because there's not a whole lot holding it. So be sure to do that. And then now we're going to continue loading our bearings. And you know, and these are good. We use you know, there's all kind of bearings out there, but and they're a little more expensive. But I use Torrington brand bearings, and I know that they're good. You know, my dad used them, I use them, and I have not ever had a bearing issue, and so that's I attribute that to, like I said, it's like anything else. You know, you don't want to build junk. You want to make it as good as you can. I do, and I know you do too. So we're going to continue to get these bearings loaded in here, and we're down to just a couple, and that's usually the the last two or three are usually, as you saw in the past, they can be a little bit of a mess sometimes. But up, just like that. So we drop them. Now, if you drop these things, don't just stab them back in there. They need to be cleaned, and in my opinion, that's very important. So, you know, are you going to drop some? Sure you are. You're going to drop them every now and then. It's not an issue. I don't care who you are, and you know, when you make a mistake, you know, it's not so much that you've made a mistake, it's how you handle that mistake, whether it be a warranty or whatever. But so now, here we go. This is our very last one for this end right here, and we're going to put him in just like so. And hope you can get it where you can see that. So there we have our complement of 22 bearings for this side right here. And then now what we're going to do is, this is, remember, our common washer, and if we're looking at it, we could tell that before it's got a witness mark on this side. So this side does not. So we're going to use this side against our bearings, and now we've got a new surface there. So we're going to put some Vaseline on it, and then we're just going to place it on here just like so. And don't worry about using too much of this petroleum jelly, because it's not going to hurt a thing. It will dissolve just about immediately. So, all right, well, I don't want to make the video any longer than I have, so I'm fixing to flip it over and do the other side. Is be just exactly like this. And then once I get the other side done, and then we'll get it ready to put in the case, then we'll come forward with another video and get that squared away. And thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And please like and subscribe. I want this to be to where this is an enjoyable and a learning experience. And so if you have any comments, by all means. And again, thank you for watching, and please make God part of your day. You'll be glad you did. Thank you. Talk to you soon.